So I'm Sara McNally. My husband Brad and I are, yep. Okay. It does this all the time. Sorry. Okay, let's try this.
It does this nonstop.
There you go. This is why I'm a letterpress printer, okay? Just gonna put that right out there. So we are the founders of Constellation & Company. We're a small studio in Pioneer Square. We do full-service graphic design and letterpress printing, sort of from the beginning of the concept all the way through handing off the final paper, beautiful, tactile piece. We do a variety of projects, including, potentially, wedding invitations. We do branding and collateral for small businesses. And we have a line of greeting cards and paper gifts that is available in stores in Seattle and around the nation, including McNally Jackson Books in New York City, which we are not related to, which I have to say that because it sounds like my uncle bought my cards. It's not that way. We do a line of cards that sometimes is sweet, sometimes it's sarcastic, but it's always inspired by handmade processes and vintage ideas. Not old ideas, but the idea of ephemera and things that are beautifully designed but meant to really recycle, not throw away. We recycle. So while I was in design school at the Ringling College of Art and Design, I have to say that because I have a lot of like lovely alumni here, which is really exciting because we're from Florida and that's really far from here. So it's always amazing to find friendly faces out here. So I got to the section of Meg's History of Graphic Design. If you've read it, it's great, about printing in the Industrial Revolution, and I kind of gave up at that point. I was done. It was just the pinnacle of technology for me. I loved what they were producing, I loved the machinery, I loved everything about it, and while I did finish school and graduate with honors, it was just it for me. I'd really found my calling. I love that our cast iron printing presses have lasted for over 100 years in a world that's constantly reinventing itself. I love the Twitter and the internets, but there's something so lasting about a 1,000-pound piece of machinery that has seen more life than any of us, and I really love that. I'm honored to be preserving a historic craft and making a living doing it. So we founded Constellation on the idea that community is important in life and in business. And I love that we're here in makerspace, because this is so true to who we are as a company. It starts with us. We're a married couple, and we collaborate closely on every project, even if it's just talking things over dinner or drinks. We also work closely with our clients. It's important to us to get to know them beyond just their do you want ecru or white paper, or do you like this Pantone color or that Pantone color? Those things are important, but we like to get to know, especially with our wedding clients, who they are as a couple, like what their personal style is, what they like to do together, because I feel that when we know our clients, we can offer them something that's 100% more authentic to who they are. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who I am, it matters who the client is, and that's very important to us. We also really love the idea of community in our company. We have 2 part-time employees, which for really little companies is a big deal, and they are dear friends. One of them started as a dear friend, and one of them has become a dear friend as she's worked with us. We also have sort of our favorite case study is our second intern, Jenny. She's here and taking pictures as usual. Did not ask her to take pictures, she just always does. But she started out as an intern and then got married, and we did her wedding invitations as a client. She then launched her own business. We branded her company and did her collateral, and now we're her client. She does all of our product photography, and that's just a really wonderful example of how working in community is just a really satisfying way to do business, because you can work with someone and empower them and work with them along the way, and we trade our money back and forth, we trade our time back and forth, and she too has become a totally dear friend. Outside of our company, we work with a large network of creative people and small businesses to offer skills and products that we can't offer by ourselves, so that our work is more exciting for our clients and we can tackle bigger projects than just my personal skills. So the big picture is, especially in an economy like right now, we cannot do this alone. We just can't. We really need each other. So now that you know us as a company a little better, I want to be very honest and share with you how we got here. I would really love for the design community to think that I'm super glamorous and very rich, but that's really not the case. So I'm going to be honest, because I think that our honest selves are a lot better than anything we put on Pinterest, although I love Pinterest, so it's good. And it's going to be a timeline, because as you know, graphic designers love timelines, so I figured I'd win y'all over. Okay, so I'm going to start really early. I was born, those are pants on my head, I'm a goof. Just get it right off there. I'm awkward, it's good. So we came to Seattle for the first time in 2008. My now husband and I, we weren't even dating, but we really loved this city. We were only here for 2 days, and we walked everywhere, and I didn't want to go home, and I dreamt about coming back from that moment. So while we were started dating, and this is very personal because honestly, my career has been very personal, and I can't separate the two. So we had a little daydream about starting a company together, focusing on the handmade, and we really knew it was something we wanted to do, but we figured it would be like 10 years from now when we'd filled the swimming pool full of cash and had done really well. But that's not how life always does things. So in March of 2009, we came to Seattle and interviewed with a lot of great companies like Cornell Anderson and Methodology, et cetera, et cetera. And the whole time we heard horror stories a little bit about closed intern programs and the economy and layoffs, and 2009 was a really tough year to graduate from college. So we moved on. We just continued applying and continued interviewing, but all in all, there was a lot of really sad head shaking from everyone. A lot of family friends suggested we practice welcome to Walmart and can I take your order. That was sort of the idea going around. So we graduated from a really great school. I really love our school. I learned a lot about type and workflow and critique, but I have to admit I was really naive and I was really self-entitled, and I felt like once I got out of school, I was owed a really good job, that was just you pay $100,000 and they give you a great job. It doesn't work that way, as I'm sure a lot of you have found out. So we didn't have a plan. We had not gotten a job, but we got in the car with the few belongings we had, including a small tabletop printing press, which I'd acquired along the way. Didn't bring pillows or furniture, but I had a printing press, so we were good. So we drove here from Florida to Washington State. We got into Seattle, and we just went to IKEA every day. That was pretty much all we did. So that year, we spent a lot of time being unemployed. We also got married, which I would suggest to anyone who's found someone like my husband who supported me through crazy town, just totally crazy town. So we continued to apply for jobs, and our student loan payment started, and we'd been ignoring this recession, and suddenly it was so concrete. It was this concrete idea. It was, wait, we just felt it. Like, what are we gonna do? This is a lot of money. So we did a lot of jobs during that time. And I have to caveat this by saying we also freelance with some great people. So if any of them are here or listen to this, you're great. We love you. But we also did some really terrible jobs. Like, I don't know if you've worked retail. It sucks. And my favorite is I spent 3 months working for an ad agency that I will not name, taking Photoshop files the ad guy designed and then just reproducing them exactly in Illustrator for print. And I did it like 14 hours a day with no food breaks. It was the longest 3 months of my life. So right around that time, with still working at that job, I had a big realization. Hating my job is just not working for me. We paid too much for school for me to, at 23, hate my job and hate my career. It just was not working. So I quit my terrible job, and I took an intro class at the School of Visual Concepts in letterpress. I'd done some workshops, I knew a lot about it, but I really wanted to get hands-on and see if I really liked this thing. And that's my main advice to someone looking to get into letterpress: get your hands on the machines. Like, don't buy anything, don't do anything, get your hands on them, because it is really not for everyone. But I loved it. And I sent a lot of emails that said something like, please let me work for you for free. I'll do anything. I love you. Thank you. Like a lot of those, a lot. And eventually one stuck, and I spent a year apprenticing with the owner of Myrtle Alley Press in West Seattle. It was a great year. I got really hands-on. I spent a lot of time doing pay your dues type projects. Those are really important. A lot of dirty hands. But I eventually got to learn the finer points of letterpress printing, and again, I absolutely loved it. So towards the end of my year apprenticing, Brad and I had another realization. We started taking clients, producing products of our own, and we launched a website. And around this time, I also read a lot of articles on the appropriate way to start a business. There's a lot of things out there. But I realized very quickly that they're just not written for me. I was 23, I was broke, wasn't willing to go into any more debt, and I had no idea what I was doing. So if you take anything away from this, if I started a business, you can start a business. I had no idea what I was doing. It's true. So I was a very unlikely candidate for being an entrepreneur. And I sat at my computer for days trying to write a business plan because I heard that that was a thing you were supposed to do. And it was really daunting. But the good news is I've found that at this phase, your business plan is more like writing on toilet paper than carving a stone tablet. It is going to change. As time goes on, you're going to learn what clients you like to take, what jobs you're never going to take again. And if you don't get started, you can't even learn from your mistakes. And that's a big thing. Learn from your mistakes, but make mistakes. So you have to get started. So we had this resolution on Christmas Day. I said, this is not working for me. I love apprenticing, but I really want to start my own business. It was always the plan. So we decided in the new year we'd find a space, we'd buy a press, and we'd get started. So we did that. Right around January 1st, we moved into the 619 Western building, which is unfortunately gone and sad. We paid $325 a month for our less than 200 square foot space, but it was our space. We bought a press the day before my birthday, and that was quite the adventure. So before I continue, I'm going to show you a bigger picture of my press on the day that I picked it up. It was a glorious mess, just absolutely mess. It was covered in rust. It had been dropped off a truck, but I took one look at it, and I said, I'll take it. Like, it was so exciting. I saw the potential in the press, and I wanted to be the one to save it. So we paid the lady, and we put it on the truck, and that's where the enthusiasm stopped, and it took us well into the night to get it into the building. There was an elevator in that building, but it was still really tough. These things are really heavy. And again, no idea what we were doing. Moving a printing press is one of the most humbling things I've ever done. And it's just as humbling every time I do it, and we've continued to do it. I like to think of myself as an island. I want to work really hard. I want to take responsibility. I want to get it done. And when you're moving a printing press, it doesn't work that way. It really forced me to ask others for help and depend on them to get it done. When we move a press, I have to take a walk. Like, it's tough for me because I really can't help, and it's really stressful. But that lesson to let others help has been so important as our business has grown. So let me admit for a moment that this sounds crazy. I buy, restore, give names to, and operate over 100-year-old machinery that's incredibly heavy, a nightmare to move, and difficult to repair. If I didn't passionately love this nonsense, I would be crazy to do it. It is not a cash cow. It really isn't. But I love it. I absolutely love it. And if you love what you do, it really makes all the difference. Nothing about letterpress is glamorous. It's greasy, inky, sweaty, and exhausting. And I found that small business love is mandatory, because otherwise, why would you do this? Like, go be a, I don't know, stock trader. What do normal business people do? I don't know. So after we got the press into the studio, I spent upwards of 40 hours with WD-40 and wire brushes, scouring 100 years of rust and grime and whatever was on it off of the press. But we put in the time and elbow grease, and we were printing our first client job in our new space with our new press by the end of the month. It took us 30 days from the decision to printing. But that January was really stressful, and this is where reality sets in. We had overhead for the first time, even if it was small, and I felt the weight of our decision really clearly. I had a lot of what have I done moments. I felt like I was swimming in the ocean with a printing press tied to my ankles. So this is where I say that the just get started enthusiasm, it will not get you through the we're going to go bankrupt fears on its own. You have to love what you do. I'm gonna keep saying that, but yeah, it's a big idea. So here's some lessons we learned that first year. Start with what you can handle. Once I got past the irrational fears of we're going to go bankrupt, I realized that at $325 a month, if I just stopped drinking coffee, we could pay for our space even if we never got a client job. So that's a good thing. We knew that we were set up to succeed, even if it just meant I could now print. That's totally enough for me. And that meant we were at the top floor of a questionably safe building and in a space that had been previously occupied by an adult film studio. First time we walked in, bed, black lights, zebra covers. Really creepy. Really creepy. It wasn't even a classy one. It was really creepy. So we learned at that point to make our space home. We cleaned it, obviously, and it was tiny and windowless. But like you were saying, you spend the majority of your life here. This is where you are. Like, you're in your space. Make it someplace you want to be. Otherwise, you won't want to be there, obviously. So during Art Walk nights, I mean, I don't know if you ever went to an Art Walk at 619, but it was really something magical. We packed hundreds of people over the months into that space and taught them about the history of printing. And some of them were drunk, and some of them were high, but it was really fun. And a lot of people got to learn about letterpress that otherwise wouldn't have. And the biggest thing I think that we learned that year is to produce quickly and often. We designed and printed most of our products for the first time in this little tiny windowless space. We'd get an idea and sketch it out, and then we'd produce it. We bought a printing press for the express purpose that we could produce our ideas quickly and get them out into the world. We try to avoid putting things into a folder or a list that I'll get around to eventually, because we won't. It's been my experience, they just don't get done. We have the technology to keep the time from idea to release really short and sweet. The things we make are ephemera. They're made to send, enjoy, and keep or recycle. So why all the pressure? Get it out into the world and see what sticks. Some things will fail. Some things will really surprise you. And every time they do, every time something's a really big success, I'm like, I did not see that coming. Like, that was something I made for me that I never expected anyone to enjoy. And those are the things that people really love. So send things out into the world. It's something we've really enjoyed learning. And expect change, because it's always coming. After 8 months in the 619 building, we were notified it was unsafe, shocker, and given 2 months to find a new space. There was a lot of yelling, and as we talked it through, we realized that it was really good timing. We'd grown a ton in those 8 months, and our business had really taken hold. We'd had 2 interns, and we needed more room, obviously. You get 3 people in there, crazy, tiny. So we also knew a lot more about our business than we had when we got started. We had gone from a question mark to something that we really knew intimately. So this was a good opportunity to find a new space for our business. So within a year of buying our press and moving it into our first studio, we were moving it out and moving it in somewhere else, and we doubled our square footage and moved into another building that's with artists and fellow business people. It's called 57 Biscayne. It's on First and Cherry. You are welcome to visit. We would love to see you. So we really love our studio. It's just a joy to work in, and our clients love being there. We used to meet a lot of clients in coffee shops for their convenience, but we found that our space sells our work 100% better than we do. Just come on in, see the printing presses, hang out with us. Like, there's nothing it can do better than that. Like, this, it's so who we are. And that's, again, I love this space because I feel like being here is like home, and that's how I feel in my space. We may not have bagels, we may not have chairs, but it's all good. We built those, that was fun. Okay, so in spring of this year, we brought on 2 part-time employees. We'd done interns for credit, we'd done interns for pay, but these are permanent people that are working with us on a daily or weekly basis. Yeah, that was scary. Again, small business is scary. But the work had gotten too big for me. I couldn't work anymore. I mean, you're 50, 60 hours a week by yourself. Like, Brad has a full-time job in addition to working with Constellation, so it was really just me. And the weight got really heavy. So I found that bringing people on, even just for 1 day a week, it makes the weight lighter. And sometimes psychologically, that just helps. It frees me up to think more clearly about what we're doing. And it gives me time to look at things in the business that I would otherwise have to neglect. So again, I've learned this thing is bigger than me. Not only do I need help, but I have to ask for help, and I have to accept help. And fear of failure could keep me from bringing people on because I am responsible for people. I know they pay their bills with what I pay them, and that's a very scary realization because I'm 25, and that doesn't seem like something I should be taking care of. But I am, and this is where we're at, and it's good. And I'm really thankful for the ladies that support me on a daily basis. They are so dear to me. And my life is so much sweeter having people to share what I love with, to train them up, to teach them what I do so that they can go forward and create their own art. Like it's awesome to see. But again, we're continuing to grow. Our 400 square feet has become 600 square feet, and we have sort of an office space and a print room space. And just a couple weeks ago, we brought in a new press, a bigger press, an older press, and we just really are excited to be able to take on more work. This is what the studio looks like right now with our two presses. They have names, Hugo and Josephine, because we're totally nerdy. This is the digital side of things. I had to show this because I am on Twitter. I am working with Illustrator most of the time. A lot of our client work is actually done digitally and then produced onto plates for the traditional printing. So I'm not completely a Luddite. And this is a picture that's very satisfying to me in repetition. Like that's maybe one of the things I love most about letterpress. Everything is just so, it's great. So when we started the business and continuing through, I've asked myself a lot of questions along the way, and the answers sometimes surprise me. A lot of the time I ask myself, why am I doing this? Like, why am I working this hard? Why? Why are we doing this? And I have to have a good reason. Otherwise, I don't get up in the morning. It's just not worth it. So the reason that I've found that's stuck is that I love the people I get to share my life with through this business. I love my employees. I love my clients. I love the freelancers we work with. It's the people that keep me going because this is just an amazing city, and we have the opportunity for amazing collaboration here, and that's something that we've just really enjoyed. Because if it was just about me, I wouldn't do it. I would just drink a lot of coffee and read books. Like, I just wouldn't do it. And I love that I get to collaborate with my husband, and I love that someday we're going to have like little print shop kids running around with dirty hands. It's going to be great. Very excited about it. So on the days that I'm overworked, underpaid, completely exhausted, like those are the things that keep me coming back to work. I like to ask, where am I? I like to know my city and be a part of it. We chose Seattle. Like I said, we just love Seattle. So I want to continue to get to know Seattle, the people that live here, and what they're looking for, because I believe that, like our logo has Constellation Company Seattle, because I believe we can't exist anywhere but here. Like we can grow, but this is where we're at. This is where we were founded. This is where our dream started, and I want our company to be uniquely Seattle. I like to talk about and think about, who are my clients? I want to know what they care about. I want to know what they're looking for. I want to know them, because otherwise the work I create is for no one. Like, I don't need to work 60 hours a week to make myself happy. Like, I just don't. There's other things I could do. But I love to know my clients and know that what I'm offering them is going to be something that they're looking for. I like to think about and ask questions about who are my peers and how I can collaborate with them. I like to ask how I can alienate them so that I can know how to not do that. We're working on a project right now called Cosmic Sands, where 26 designers take on a letter of the alphabet and do an art piece that's sci-fi or space themed. It's gotten we have all 26, and we had it all almost in one day, and we're really excited about it. We're going to be showing the show in September at Design Commission. We're very excited. And things like that are ways that I can connect with my peers and work with people that otherwise I probably wouldn't get a chance to work with, which is exciting. And I like to ask, what do I have to offer? Because some days it feels like nothing, but I am uniquely me, and I like to offer my honesty and offer work that I love, because I know other people will love it too and connect to that authenticity and the honesty. And everybody loves letterpress. You can't really go wrong. So what does this have to do with the recession? Because I know the headline of the talk said something about an economic downturn, and it sounded very impressive when I wrote it. My career has existed in the recession. I have never worked a day without the recession. So in the beginning, when I was ignoring the recession and acting like everything was going to be fine, that was totally not the way to do it. I've learned a lot about the recession these last 3 years, but I'm back around full circle to what recession? Like, what? Just work. Like, we just need to work. And honestly, I love what I do, and I would never go back and pick any of those dream jobs that I had in college, because not getting a job has forced me to pursue my dreams, to start this business. And the last 3 years, we've built something that's growing. So instead of sort of buckling down and feeling sorry for myself, which I did at first, we've really built something that I'm excited to see what happens over the next 3 years. And so it kind of has nothing to do with the recession. That's pretty much it. So that's kind of it from here. I appreciate you all listening to Awkward Me. This is the first talk I've given. I am not a speaker. I am a letterpress printer, and later I'm going to go print and feel really good about it because that's so more my element. But I would be welcome to your questions at this point. Thank you so much for listening. And I have goodies. I have goodies if you ask a question. We just did some foil stamped cards, which are extra exciting. Oh, those are Abe Lincoln.
So as you were talking about the recession and blowing it off, kind of, it made me think about all the jobs that were created because of the recession and all the people that decided, well, maybe I need to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
And so, but the question I have about that is, like, do you see that you created a job for yourself, or do you see it another way?
I created a job for myself and for 2 part-time employees, and we've had 2 interns. So one, idiot 23-year-old starting a business has created jobs. So we're so busy right now, I cannot take all the work. I'm turning work away. So there is money out there, especially in weddings. Surprise. But yeah, so we are busy, and we do have jobs, and I do see that I have created a job for myself. And my parents started their own business at 23, which I did not think about until much later on. So it's something that people have always done, and I think should continue to do, because in something like letterpress, like, I defy you to find a letterpress job on Craigslist. Like, they do not exist. So if it's something that you want to do and you don't see a position for yourself, make one. Like, do what you want to do. You get a card. Yeah, totally.
Hey, Sarah.
Hello.
So things are going well in the middle of crappy climate. What are your kind of long-term plans and aspirations for this? What happens when things blow up? And what's your, I mean, do you have a bigger vision? And what is that?
Yeah. I would say I'm formulating that vision now, because from 3 years ago to now, there's been a lot of, what if we run out of money, and what if this doesn't work? What are we going to do with all of these pounds of printing presses? So that's been the main plan, like, don't go bankrupt. But right now we're looking at, yeah, we're going to have to grow. We don't ever want to get so big that we stop being letterpress, because that's so much a part of who we are. We're really sort of snobby about letterpress in some ways, because we operate foot-powered, completely non-electric, hand-fed presses. A lot of the big companies that you see doing green cards and things are all on electric, automated presses. And I'm not going to say that's not letterpress, because it is, and it does take a lot of skill to do. But that's not the kind of letterpress I want to do, because I love the, it always sounds so crunchy when I talk about it, but I love the organic feeling of working with the press. Like, it's me operating it. It's my, the amount of energy that I have, and like the amount of time I have, it's all completely connected. And I can smash my hand, and so it's always like scary and exciting. But yeah, so we would love to continue to grow and bring on more presses and bring on more people. There are people graduating from letterpress programs around the country, which is totally exciting. Our college actually just started a letterpress program, which is very awesome. So I would love to hire people out of school. I'd love to get those like stupid 23-year-olds and bring them in and teach them how to print. Like, it's good. So we'd love to continue to grow, and to grow our wholesale greeting card line is sort of something we're excited about. And eventually, I'd love to teach letterpress somewhere. I think when I'm old and tired of actually operating the press, that would be really cool. Because we're really passionate about not just using this for what it's worth and throwing it out, but continuing to preserve these presses, preserve the craft, because the old-timers are almost all dead. That's terrible, but it's true. Like, the people who were doing this for a living back in the day, when it was actually part of everyday life, when it was just printing, they're almost all gone. And so, you know, I'm on the younger end of people who are printing, and I want to be the old-timer someday teaching this to younger people, because I don't want this to die. like it's important to me, and so I want to continue it. So if that looks like teaching eventually, that would be cool. So get back to me in another 3 years, and maybe I'll have a really cool plan of how to take over the design world. But right now, that's all I got. You get a card too. Okay.
Oh, first off, hi.
Hi.
I did my wedding invitations on a letterpress printing press named Petunia.
Awesome.
So totally there.
They should all have names.
On your photographs, just technical nerdiness, it looks like you're using the boxcar press plates.
Yes.
How do you like working with them? Because I learned only on like magnesium and lead old school.
I really like the boxcar plates. They create a product called a photopolymer plate, so I can send my Illustrator files off to Boxcar, and they'll send me back a flexible plastic plate that I can print from. It's not a perfect technology by any means, but they're fast. They get it back to me quickly, and it's a way that I can, you know, I'm sure you've worked with clients, send PDFs back and forth, make all the tweaks, because otherwise I'd be moving letters in and out, which I love to do, but I love to do for my own satisfaction and not for clients. So the things that we do, handset type and vintage imagery, are all our greeting card things and our art projects for ourselves. Art projects, that sounds terrible. Our art pieces for ourselves and for our own products. But yeah, I love the boxcar stuff. I love the people. There was a company in Bellingham making plates as well called Bison Bookbinding. They're really busy. They're like blowing up. So I don't know how long they're going to continue to be doing plates. But yeah, I love boxcar. They're great. And they have a huge team of people making plates. So that's pretty cool that there's enough people printing in the country to have a whole company with a team making printing plates. Kind of excited about that. Oh, here, have a card. Here, I'll throw it to you. That worked shockingly well. Yes.
Right back here. So you're 3 years into it now. Do you have any major regrets or things that you wish you had done differently that maybe other people can learn from?
Okay, I shouldn't tell a story. So from time to time in design, people come at ideas from completely differently, have never seen each other's work and create something very similar. That happened, and I came about it in totally the wrong way and felt aggressive and like they're stealing my work, and that was totally the wrong way to go about it, because honestly, they did it first, and they were very gracious to me for being a jerk about it. So that really changed the way I look at things. It really brought a lot of humility, and that like, no, I am not the first person to think of all of these things. Like, these are ideas that are floating around, and other people come upon them. So when I talked about alienating your peers, there are ways to do it and ways that I've done it, and I think I'm learning a lot about how to go at competition in a different way. So that's sort of the main thing is like love your peers and find a way to work with them and not work against them, because there is certainly enough market share for funny little greeting cards. Everybody wants them. Like we're not gonna run out of money there. It's the little luxuries that are especially important in the economy like we have now. Have a card. You can pass it back to somebody. I'm not going to throw it. Sorry. That was a terrible idea. Yes.
As you started out, did the work come from the passion work that you did, that you created? Did that start to bring in clients, or were you out there farming work for your own benefit?
I feel like every time I talk about this, I feel a little funny about it. It's the internet. Like, we put a website up there and got on Google Maps and have a blog and are on Twitter, and that brings in almost all of the clients. I don't advertise. We just have people coming to us. And the nice thing about that is I'm not going out and trying to find my demographic. My demographic is finding me. People who want letterpress know they want letterpress. And if they don't, honestly, it's not worth it to me to work with them, because it is expensive and it takes a lot of time. So it's nice that people have learned enough about letterpress from here and there to come and find us. So if you search Seattle letterpress, we're one of the first things that come up, and that's most of what brings in the clients. I also have a blog, which I think is really important, even if no one reads it, because it keeps the content fresh. And people come to my site, we have a whole list of crazy things. Like, hipsters are people that can knit is a literal search term that someone used and got to our site, which is great. So, like, crazy. So, I mean, getting stuff on Pinterest and just people looking for crazy stuff, they end up finding us. So just be active on the internet is sort of my only suggestion, because I don't always know how they find us, but they find us, which is great. So if it stops working, I guess I'll have to figure out how to advertise. That's the next thing.
We have one question back here.
Yes. Oh.
One more?
I have more cards. So.
Let's have this question and go to
My question is about how to value your time in terms of fee, right? Because my background's in architecture, so that's something that they obviously never teach you in school is like, if you wanted to be out on your own, how do you learn how to value sort of what you bring to the table? And then as a small business owner, like how do you say to the client, like, this is how much this is going to be, and this is how much my time is worth? And
yeah, that was one of the biggest things that we've learned over 3 years. It's hard. It's a hard world out there, and money is hard to talk about when you're not used to it. So we started out working for free. So we had a lot of people we knew getting married. It's that time of life. So we said, please let me do your wedding invitation. If you pay for the paper and the plates, I'll do the labor. And that's how we got the first couple projects in our portfolio, to show people that we can do what they need us to do. And then you charge what you feel like is on the low end of things. And you say, I'm new. I'm new at this. I'm just out of school. I'm young, but I want to work for you, and I can do it at this price because I am new to this, and I don't have a huge portfolio. And I like to always caveat those things. If I'm giving someone a deal, I say, I'm giving you a deal. So they don't think that letterpress work costs nothing, because that's not fair to my peers. That's not fair to my competition to devalue the work. So you start it free, you go to giving you a deal, and at a certain point you have to set the bar at what you would like to be making. And for a while, people will flee. They'll be like, I don't know. But you'll eventually find the demographic that's looking for the and we do completely custom work, so that's a whole other thing. So custom letterpress work, if they're looking for that, they're willing to pay for that. And if your prices are too low, they think there's something wrong with you. So you have to charge what, set the bar. And part of it has been, I put someone else on the incoming client emails, because for me, I'm always like, I'd love to work with you. You're an architect, and you're so cool. I would love to do your invitations. Like, the excited designer part of me like runs away, and I'm like, I'll do it for free. And I can't do that because I have people to pay. So I set someone else at the incoming client emails, because they can impassionately tell people what the prices are, and if people stay, that's great, and if they don't, that's okay. So that's been part of it. Like, really figure out what your competition is doing, figure out what your peers are doing, and don't price yourself too far out of there, but figure out what makes it worthwhile for you, what your overhead is, how much you're paying for your rent and your presses and everything. Like, it has to kind of all work in together, but you have to find what that sweet spot is, and you'll take jobs for too low, and you'll price jobs too high and chase people away, and you'll figure that out, because it's sort of like jumping in the deep end of the pool. Like, you eventually learn how to swim or you drown. Like, that's kind of it. I don't know if that's helpful. You can have a card. Sorry, it's awkward. Thank you.
Teamwork. There we go.
My question was, so you're talking about this very passionately, and you started doing this as a business. How much time do you spend actually, running this business? Because it seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work.
Like actually doing it.
And that's some. Oh, okay. So you asked, how much time do I spend actually running the business, and how much do I spend actually doing what I want to do, what I love to do? That's certainly a trade-off, and that's one of the pieces of advice that has stuck with me from an unlikely mentor, that going into business, you don't always get to do what you love to do after a point. I'm hoping that day doesn't come that I don't have time to do both. I've learned to write out everything I do and figure out which of these things actually require me, and which of the things I actually want to do, and delegate the other stuff. Like, I have an accountant. She does QuickBooks. That's great. She's also my mom. She's great. Love you, Mom. So I give things that I'm not good at away. I give things that are hard for me to do away sometimes, because other people are more skilled at them. Like doing the client emails. My friend Holly is very, very polite and very nice over email. So it's really good that she gets to answer those emails for me, because sometimes I'm like, I'm so busy. Don't you know how busy I am? Like, it's not a good way to deal with clients. But yeah, so I don't know what that's going to look like over time, but I've certainly held on to the things that got me into this, because I'm not a business owner. I'm not an MBA. I'm a graphic designer and a letterpress printer, so really people are paying me to do the work. So sometimes it looks like bringing in freelancers to support me on different design projects and give additional examples, but I'm always at the middle of what's happening in design, and I'm always printing. There's a lot of things that I can hand off, but I've just held on to those things that I love really, really dearly, because again, like that's why I got into this. So if I found out that I was only doing quotes and QuickBooks and advertising and marketing and whatever, I don't know, what do business people do? What do I do? All those things. If I found out I was only doing those things, it would be disappointing to me. But that's not what I found. I feel like there's definitely time for all of it, but sometimes it takes creative planning in life. And thankfully, I have a husband that is in this with me, and so he knows when we have to work late after work, or we have to, work weekends, or we have to meet a client in the middle of a Saturday afternoon. Like, he's very understanding about that and enjoys doing that with me, so that really helps.
We have time for one more question. Does anyone got one? No? Oh, we do over here. Excellent. As far as away as that could be. I'm coming.
Then I'll have to repeat it, and I'll probably not do it right, so this is good.
Okay. I was curious, when you first started having the doubts creep in, what you did. Like, was it get on the press, or was it I need to go for, you mentioned that you need to go for a walk, but was it always that? Did it transform?
Yeah. Mostly the most important thing is to get them out, like to talk them out. I tell them to someone, and then they sound crazy. Like, I realize they sound crazy. So thankfully, I have my husband who's a sounding board. I also have employees they totally know I'm a talk thinker. So instead of just sitting and thinking about something, I have to talk it out in order to get my brain to work. So it really helps to have people around that are willing to listen to the crazy, because there's a lot of crazy. But yeah, taking a walk, getting away from the problem helps. I love our city, so I love to get out into it and see, remember, oh yeah, I love to live here, and I love what's going on. I love that I'm a part of it, and that helps. But talk it out, write it out. I take a lot of notes, not just on client stuff, but on everything. I've got, they're not diaries, that sounds really nerdy, but I have big journals filled with all of those doubts and all of those questions, all of those ideas, because I can come back to them and say, okay, well, this is probably something I should think about. This is something that's crazy, and I can cross it right out to come back to things. Because in small business, when you get started, it's just you, and so there's a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of, why am I doing this? Am I equipped to do this? Is anyone going to pay me to do this? Why would anyone listen to me? Why would 100 people listen to me talk? No idea. You're all crazy. But to get that stuff out. So there's always going to be doubt, but there are ways to definitely to share that, and people will tell you you're being crazy, and it's a valuable thing to have around. It's that working in community thing. Because as an island, we're destructive. We have so many doubts and so many fears, and just live in those things. And I think there's a better way to do it, for sure. You get a card.
I think we're done. Let's give Sara a round of applause.